Welcome, Danica Patrick.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. You qualified a season best on Friday, making it to the final round of group qualifying. This is the first time in your 51-start career in NASCAR Sprint Cup Series that you actually started in the top 20.
Yeah, that's sad. I started 10th. So I blew it. I blew it out of the water. I had a much better run.
Okay, but you still said that you were disappointed because of the way that you finished. You called it a disappointing day when you finished 32nd.
Sure.
But were you encouraged by the start, or is that irrelevant?
Well, the ultimate goal is to have a great finish. I mean, my first time to this track that I qualified 10th at last weekend, Martinsville is the track. I qualified in the back, and I spun out at the start and trying to pass somebody, and went 2 laps down and came back, got on the lead lap and finished 12th. I mean, I had a storming day. Like, it was very fast. But then, you know, here I go, my 3rd trip back now, and it was a great start, starting 10th, moved up to 8th after the first start, and but once the long runs came in, I went straight backwards. And that's just the day that it was. I think that NASCAR is so competitive that if you're a little off, that's what happens. And then on the other hand, so I was very disappointed with the result, because that's the objective, is to finish well. You've got to find the positives in your day or your weekend, or you're going to get beat down, because there's going to be a way to be disappointed unless you win every single weekend. And even when you win, you can probably still criticize it to make sure that you try and do it again. But let's face it, at the end of the season, even the best of the best can win a handful of races. That means you're going to have a lot of weekends where you're disappointed. And if you let that be the only thing you think about, then it's going to be a long year.
So you don't completely forget about it, but you don't dwell on it.
Exactly.
Okay. Your next race, April 6th, the Duck Commander 500, that's at the Texas Motor Speedway. Last year you came in 28th after starting 42nd. What are your thoughts going into that race?
Well, I feel like something happened early in the race that put me back, although we do so many of these races, so you could lose a little bit of track. You know, I enjoy the 1.5 miles, and I've always liked going to Texas. And I feel like as a team at Stewart Haas Racing, the team has improved on those cars that race on those styles of tracks, the 1.5 mile tracks. You know, they're just better prepared cars. They're faster cars. They have more grip, and I feel like there's a chance that it'll be a much better time around this year. You
started at age 10 go-karting in '92. By the time you were 16, you moved to England to race in the British National Series. For a lot of people that are out there that are interested in the sport, just really quickly, tell me what happened between 10 and 16 and what made you get into racing.
Well, I got into racing because my sister wanted to do it, actually. She was 8 and I was 10, and she just really wanted to race go-karts, and I just, being a sister, do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Right?
2 sisters.
You just do whatever your siblings do. You don't want to get left out. If they're going to get to do something fun, so are you. So I didn't want to get left out.
That's why I got in a lot of trouble, because I tried to copy them.
Oh, and they probably got in a lot of trouble trying to copy you too. So you get it. So I didn't want to get left out, and so I did it, and I found that it was something that I was good at. And then what happened in those 6, 7 years? I won a lot, and so it was really about taking it to the next level all the time, and I didn't know it until I was done racing, or till I was done racing go-karts, and you know, later in my life. But my dad said in an interview at some point in time that you know, I always wanted to keep her challenged. I always wanted to take her to the next level to see how she'd do, and see how far that I could take this. And so I didn't know that in the time. You know, I just thought we were going to race some new series. How fun!
Yeah.
But it was really a product of him knowing that I was good at what I was doing, and that I needed to be challenged. Just like people that are really intelligent need to be challenged in school, I needed the challenge.
You're in your 2nd season as a full-time driver in the NASCAR Sprint Series, and your 2nd with the Stewart Haas Racing team and crew chief Tony Gibson. So how much improvement do you see for yourself? I mean, the sky's the limit right now for you, right?
Yeah, and especially for only being the 2nd year in Sprint Cup and the 3rd year in NASCAR, 3rd full-time year. You know, I came from 7 years of IndyCar racing and all open-wheel racing growing up in England, and Formula Ford, and you know, Formula Atlantic Series before I raced IndyCar. So everything I did was open wheel racing until stock cars. So there's a lot of things that I have to learn that are, some of them are opposite of everything that I have learned. So
yeah.
There's a lot of potential there, obviously, because there's so much so much that's new. So it's going much better. I mean, this year, while again, like I say, the results are the most important thing at the end of the day, there's a lot of positive things that have happened this year and overall been much faster, and that's, you know, when the speed gets there, then the results will eventually come. The bad luck will end, and, you know, the misfortunes will go away, and you're gonna figure it out.
Let's talk about endorsements and the NASCAR audience in general. First of all, in the media we have something called Q ratings, which is a Q score that measures the popularity of a personality. Your Q rating is higher than any driver, current or retired. People are more familiar with you, they like you, you have more awareness than most female athletes. What do you attribute that to?
Great partners. I think from the very beginning I've had really great sponsors that advertise and use the platform to further their business and create that ROI, that return on investment that they've made. I think that some of my really great moments in racing have happened on some of the biggest stages, which always goes a lot further than. To have the Indy 500 be the race that I tended to do the best at in IndyCar and almost winning in my very first year, and then qualifying on the pole for the Daytona 500 last year in my first full-time year in Sprint Cup was, you know, those are all big stages and big things. So having the moments hit at the right time, and then, you know, just having great journalists along the way write great stories and cover me well. People believe what they see. They believe what they read. They're going to believe this interview. You know, they just, what else are you going to do? So if we go away and you say nice things about me, they're going to think, well, she must be nice then, you know? Just like if somebody writes an article and they say, she was horrible, she's mean, well, they're going to believe that too.
Right.
So I feel like I've had a lot of really great journalism on my side and had a lot of people write really nice things about me, which becomes public opinion.
A lot of people reading that, including some of your competitors. Kyle Petty, one of them, he's one that's made some pretty harsh comments about the perception of your abilities as a driver. He called you a marketing machine. He said you're not a race car driver. Lots of drivers can drive fast, but very few drivers can race, he said. Does that hurt you when you hear those things?
No. I feel bad. Why would it, you know, I feel bad for the times that people say things that create such a stir, like why does that need to happen? What drove you to spill that information? But I believe everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and that's how he feels, and that's okay.
Yeah. Is some of it sexism, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But all I know is that the positive side of, let's say, when that happened, was that there was the other side of the story, right? Because that's journalism, right? There's one side and then there's another side. There's plenty of TV shows that have, you know, one host against another, and they take different perspectives to make to show both sides. So all the positive articles got written as opposed to just she can't drive and she's not a race car driver to she can drive and she's a race car driver, and they tell why. So there's a lot of really good stuff that came out of it too.
Do you think you have an advantage because you are a woman? Would you have the same number of endorsements if you were a man?
I don't know. Maybe not. I think that with every negative, there's a positive, and vice versa. You know, for every time people are like, "Oh, really? She got fourth, and she's getting all that attention." Well, guess what? I finished 32nd today, and I got all kinds of attention for that too. So, you know, you have to deal with both sides of it. So I feel like that happens a lot. You know, everybody paying attention and hanging on your every word and being careful about what you say and what you do. There's a whole lot more that goes with it than just driving.
That's an interesting observation, because even the president said that about being black. He said, you know, it helps me and it hurts me, depending on who you're dealing with. You're endorsing the Can-Am Spider. This is a 3-wheel motorcycle. Two-wheel. It looks real cool, man. I mean,
It is really cool.
It looks fun. 2 wheels in front, 1 in back.
Yep.
And it's used for broad touring, right? Okay, so these are the long drives on the open road. 25% of the new entrants to this segment are mostly women over 40. Why do you think so many women are starting out, first of all, with this three-wheel bike?
It's a very confidence-building, stable ride. I mean, there's not that element of, well, I got to be really good on the bike and be careful I don't fall over. I mean, there's so much potential for failure with two wheels, and you have to be prepared. I mean, let's just take size into account. Let's just think about that for a second. Like, I know when I'm riding a bicycle, like to put my feet down on the bicycle at a stoplight, like I have to lean all the way over. Now make the bike really heavy and make it have an engine, and all of a sudden it takes on a whole new form.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that, but maybe size just in general. Where with the Can-Am Spyder, it's three wheels, it's stable. You stop, it stops. You don't have to lean. You don't have to put your foot down. So just for our body type and for our experience level, I would imagine that there are a lot more male motorcycle riders than female. So it's just it fits the comfort level for new riders and maybe in particular women. One
of the things that your sponsors like about you is that you appeal to both men and women, and a wider cross section, more mainstream than just your average driver. Do you think that you have more female fans or male fans?
I think I have more kids fans. They've been coming out of the woodwork, it seems like, but I feel very fortunate that it's hard to tell. That's probably a good problem, is that I can't tell if there are more guys or girls that are a fan. You get the atta-girls, but then you get the guys that are just racers and they think it's cool and they cheer for you. So I'm very fortunate, young and old, like I said, kids, and then you get older people, whether they be old, old grandpas or grandmas, and they're like, back in the day, I wish I could have done what you did. I've heard that before. And then you have the guys that are older that just love the evolution of the culture, and that, there's something different happening.
When people are tough on you, is it men or women who are tougher?
It's me.
Okay, you're the toughest.
I'm toughest on myself. There's nothing anybody can say that I haven't already thought, or that I haven't already evaluated, or that I haven't questioned. I'm the hardest on myself.
Do you have to be more cautious, do you believe, in your life? I mean, you see Justin Bieber, you see Miley Cyrus, you see all of these younger people out there wanting to live their lives how they want to, but do you think that you realize that you can't, or?
Well, in life there are consequences for the things that you shouldn't do. There just are, whether it be from your parents or someone else. And maybe in some of these situations, maybe there aren't enough consequences from the home front, and the consequences come in the public eye. But right is right and wrong is wrong. And I think that we all have a conscience and we know what they are. And I still think kids should be able to be kids and not have to. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to learn from your mistakes.
And what advice do you give to them? Because I know that you started young. Your mom, Bev, and your dad were very involved, and I would say probably received some of the credit for the early part of your career, at least. What advice do you give to the young people like Cyrus and Bieber?
Well, I'm sure they have plenty of people giving them advice, but something in my career I've always done is be true to myself and be respectful of other people, and I think that, and also keep good people around. I don't quite know what it's like in the more entertainment life. I mean, my mom and dad drove my bus until 2009, so I got my first employee in 2009 or 10, so they were doing everything until that point. So I don't know what it's like on the other side of things. It seems a little bit different, but I think it's been very important to have family and to have good friends and to have goals. I think when you have goals, you stay determined and you stay on track. I think that's been something that I've had my whole life, is goals, and I think that drives me to do the right thing every day.
It's got to be tough to have mom and dad involved at sometimes, because
sometimes, of
if you
course.
disagree, If you ever get to the point where you're not happy with the leadership that they
Right.
show, could you fire them?
Well, I did in 2009, and hired bus driver, hired an assistant, and it was the best thing. You know, it's difficult in some sports. There's a difficult transition from child and guidance to an adult, and you know, it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good.
How did they take it?
Okay.
And
yeah.
what is their involvement in your career now?
Now, they don't necessarily do anything for my career as much as support me, which goes a long way for what I do. You know, some days, you know, look, I'll be honest, you get done and you come back to the bus, and I grab my phone and I called them bawling, crying, because I've had a bad day and I'm down and out and I need someone to bring me back up, and that's what they're there for. I don't need them organizing my next interview or like packing the bus up. I need them on the phone to help me out because I'm feeling pretty bad, and they can do that now. And just, you know, I think that when you have a relationship with your family that becomes more about business, it's really becomes all about business then. Or at least I was starting to wonder, like, oh no, what do they want now? Why'd they call me? But now, like, they call to say, hey, or cheer me up, or guess what I did today? Or we're driving down the road, we're off to a snowmobile race, hey, what's going on? So now it's life. They're telling me about their life. They have so much more to say. They're doing so much more. So it's such a more normal relationship than when they work with you.
I've talked to athletes like Maria Sharapova, LeBron James. They have one thing in common with you. They didn't go to college because they were so focused on being the best in their sport. You got your GED to focus on racing. Do you think you'll go back to school at some point?
Not in a formal sense, but maybe in an I'm interested sense. Like, I've always thought it would be really fun to do like a 6-month cooking class, like where you really learn how to cook. Or maybe I want to learn how to, you know, build cabinets, or, you know, maybe I want to learn how to do something totally different, something. But I don't think it would be in a formal education format, but just some sort of a mild education program. Learn how to, I mean, I took one sewing class and now I hem all my jeans, and I, you know, can tailor stuff a little bit and make shirts and stuff. It all comes from one class. Imagine if I took more of those. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm curious and interested in, but do I think that I would ever go back to school? No, but
well, how do you
take educational courses? I think that could happen.
In your post-career, which, first of all, how long do you expect to be in racing?
Well, that just depends on how long I love it and how long I'm fortunate enough to have a ride. That can always be a situation too. But if I'm fortunate enough to always have support and backing, like I've had the support from GoDaddy that I've had for the last good few years, then you get to keep going until you decide that it's not something you love one day. And so I don't know when that day will come, but I would say a lot of drivers get into their 40s racing. I don't know if I will or not, but I'm 23 years of racing this year, so it's been a while. 3
things that we don't know about Danica Patrick.
I like to do woodwork stuff. Like, I have always had an artsy side, so I've started a little bit more arts and crafts. I love to cook. Well, people might know that. What else would people not know? I don't really like to watch racing on TV. I don't really care. It's like, it doesn't really bother me to watch it or not watch it. I can be a little bit particular and OCD about some things, and I'm trying to be better about it, because it doesn't matter. But you know what? Things have to be organized in perfect order.
All right. Well, hey, it's helping you so far. Thanks a lot, Danica, for coming in. I wish you the best on your upcoming race.